Welcome to ASHA's IS Institute. This is a website aasha.com. We upload current affairs here daily, so you can download these daily PDFs too, plus monthly compilations are also uploaded. So in this video, we are looking at July 2016 monthly compilation. So you can download the full news PDF file up here. We have already discussed first two parts. Presently, we're discussing the third part of July 2016 news. So this is starting with science and technology. The first news is that with thrust on innovation, scheme to inspire young scientists to be renamed. So this is a scheme since 2010 under Department of Science and Technology, Inspire. Innovation in Science Pursuit for Inspired Research. So this has been renamed now as MANAK, Million Minds Augmenting National Aspirations and Knowledge. So the rename also takes us along with it that now it will be emphasizing on technology which can solve problems. Augmenting national aspirations. Earlier it was more of, an exhibition, an idea put in an exhibition as such, or a science project as such. So now it is more on problem solving, that is also emphasized here. So it says National Innovation Foundation, this Gujarat-based organization, will scout for even rural investors. So the ideas that are not original will be weeded out. So this is the initiative taken now, MANAK. The next is fingerprinting on web may give away your identity. So there are unique online fingerprints left behind when you use a device in a public location. So this can reveal your identity and can be used to track your movements. So this is a point put forth here. So these are called browser print. The way we have fingerprints, same way there are browser prints also, which is often unique to the individual. Then next is scientists work towards storing digital information in RNA. So this in DNA. So DNA can be used for storing information. So DNA storage has huge potential. So this can help companies and institutions archive huge amount of data for decades and centuries. So DNA is the information storing molecule. Actually the genes carry the information from generation to generation. So these blueprints as such are carried in the human body for creating of the human body as such in the DNAs. So now DNA can be used for computing as well. So of course the advantages are there. The advantage is one, durability, that it will last. So scientists can recover and read DNA sequences even from fossils. So they can last so long. Then another is DNA cramps information into very little space. So you know the double helical structure of DNA, which comprises of these 4-letter code A, C, T and G. Adenine, guanine, all these. So these are found on the DNA molecules, and the specific sequences of this are the codes for creating particular proteins as such. So how digital information is stored even on DNA, which is these codes, information can be stored. So how it is done, it's given here that how zeros and ones are there. So A, for example, can be a particular code. So this you can see it's a 2-letter code. Here it is a 4-letter as such, 4 letters which are there. So this you can see scientists have converted the digital code into 4-letter DNA code, custom make DNAs. So of course it's a costly process presently, that for each coding how it would come on DNA. So that is of course the cost is there. Once the technology becomes cheaper, then it has huge potential for storing information. Also, one more advantage of DNA storage is that the reading of this information, the format does not become redundant. So presently we see the technology which is there on which information is stored. Like for example, earlier floppy disks were used. So now there is no floppy disk reader. So even you have information on that, reading it now becomes difficult. CD player. So similarly, when you have different technologies coming in, so it becomes very difficult to have the reader as such too. But with DNA, this problem can be avoided. So this is also there. So the DNA is also shown here. So in the cell you have the nucleus. In the nucleus, in a human body, in nucleus we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So these chromosomes you can see are these made of DNA, and DNA is this double helical structure. So in this helix you can see these are adenine, thymine, guanine and cytosine. These are the 4 base pairs as such, which you can see the base pairs, these 4. this will be once which coding can take place. The next is supercomputer to forecast monsoon with dynamical model. So India's annual summer monsoon forecast will be made by supercomputer now. So this supercomputer is presently being tested at Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Pune for a decade now. So this dynamic model will now be used. So this is being highlighted. So you can see the traditional approach in recent decades, it has failed to predict monsoon failures as such. So now the dynamic model will be used. Then next is space. NASA's Juno spacecraft swims into Jupiter's magnetosphere. So you should know Juno. This is the solar-powered Jupiter-bound spacecraft of NASA. So it has entered into the planet's magnetosphere. So here the movement of particles in space is controlled by what's going on inside Jupiter. So you can get very much details of Jupiter as well too by studying the particles in the magnetosphere. So this is Juno. Then next is SpaceX rocket on course to drop supplies in ISS. So SpaceX, which is a private sector space engine. So this space rocket Falcon 9 has blasted off to International Space Station presently. It's carrying payload for the astronauts. So it is also, it means the cargo which is there, the cargo carrier is Dragon. So this Dragon cargo carrier was sent in orbit. And then the astronauts used an outpost robotic arm to grab this incoming spacecraft and attach it to the station. So that's how they get the cargo. So this is there. So you can see the Falcon 9 SpaceX has also faced troubles. So the first stage of the rocket here successfully fired its engines again to maneuver back and land on Cape Canaveral. So this means a previous version was actually destroyed. So when SpaceX rocket exploded in June 2015, a year ago, from July 2016. So this was due to some fault here. So now it has actually got the vehicle back also. So this has been reused too. We have already seen that also. So reuse of this has also taken place by SpaceX. So you can see presently the space shuttle program of USA has ended since 2011. Russia's Soyuz capsules are the only ones which can carry the crew. So they are only means to carry the crew. The cargo presently you can see SpaceX is also supporting. Even Boeing Starliner is there. So these are carrying the cargo. So these are privately owned spaceships as such. Then next is dark matter remains elusive. So this is LUX experiment. Large underground xenon dark matter experiment. So this is in beneath, actually 1 mile below Stanford Underground Research Facility, at this underground facility. So this is in USA. So it has completed its silent search and it was not able to get hold of this dark matter, which is said to comprise more than 4/5 of the mass of the universe. So it did not get hold of any measure as such here. But scientists say they are confident of its existence because the effects of its gravity can be seen in the rotation of galaxies and the way light bends as it travels through the universe. So there is dark matter present, there is evidence for it, but it has not been caught as such through these experiments. Then next is solar plane near end of trip. So this is Solar Impulse 2. So this is the first sun-powered airplane which has completed a circle round the globe. So this is without a drop of fuel to promote as such. So this is to promote renewable energy. It's solar powered. So the 42,000 kilometer journey across 4 continents as such was done. The main person here is Bertrand Piccard. So he is a Switzerland-based explorer and project director. So he and his compatriot were there in this Solar Impulse 2. So the term, if Solar Impulse 2 comes, you should know it's a solar-powered airplane which completed a circle round the globe. So in June around here, you can see it had to be grounded too for 9 months in Hawaii because of damages to its batteries. So this is there. So it has broad wings, lightweight, Solar Impulse 2. Next is agriculture. APMC's call one-day strike. So this is the strike which had been called in Maharashtra because state government said that farmers are now free to sell their vegetables and fruits outside the APMCs too. So they have allowed them to sell, any private company they can sell without approaching market committees and registered traders. So earlier they were not allowed, they had to sell in APMCs only. So this, the APMC owners here are saying this is discrimination, because if they are going to sell outside, then we are get the due as such for us, and we have fees etc. paid by us, and for other outsider traders they are free to do business outside, and we are having set up here for so long, acquiring licenses, paying the taxes as such which are applicable. So they are spread of all these. So this is the point being raised by these traders, that the investments made over the years will go to waste. Next is committee to consider increasing MSP for pulses. So this is the minimum support price for pulses. So there's a committee which has been set up, headed by Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam. So they're considering increasing the MSP for pulses. So we have already pulses, we are seeing the prices are increasing. So to contain them, steps are being taken by the government as such. And it says that this is to promote pulses farming. So if pulses prices are increasing, means there's a deficit. So if pulses farming is promoted with a better MSP, then the deficit can be taken care of. Also, we have signed an agreement with Mozambique for importing tur. So these are pulses. So this, you can see, domestic production has touched 20 million tons this year, and it has been more than last year. Still there is a price hike. So another point raised is that high prices of dals will so pulses means these dals only, so they will hit protein intake in the country. So this is put forth here. Next is Feed the Future program launch. So this is the program which has been launched by USAID. So Indian Agricultural Ministry and USAID together are launching the second phase of Feed the Future. So a triangular training program in which training would be provided to agricultural professionals across Asia and Africa. So here the US and Indian scientists would share the farming techniques with these countries as such. So this is the Feed the Future program. So you can see it will train agricultural professionals from 17 countries in Asia and Africa. So this will be in agricultural marketing, dairy management, food processing, prevent post-harvest losses. So this is the initiative. Next is no fresh test for GM mustard. So GM mustard tests have been undertaken to see the safety of the crop as such, the seed. So Environment Ministry is not going to prescribe fresh tests. It's highly unlikely. Now the environmentalists are actually protesting that GM mustard, which is under scrutiny, it contains genes which confer herbicide tolerance. So there's already a technical expert committee of Supreme Court which is looking into this GM crops issue, and it has recommended that all herbicide tolerant crops should be banned in the country. So this is one point raised by the opposers to GM mustard. And second point they say is that GM mustard does not have any superior yield to current mustard varieties. So this is the second point. So Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee is the expert body under the Environment Ministry which has the function of assessing whether GM crops are posing any threat to health or environment. So this body says that whether it is having a superior yield or not, that is beyond the scope of the body. So this point is also put forth by them. They say that GM cotton has been approved. So GM mustard has been developed by Deepak Pental. So this is a geneticist at Delhi University, and he's supported by National Dairy Development Board and Department of Biotechnology itself. So there's government support to him, and he has developed GM mustard. So mustard is a self-pollinating plant. So hybrid varieties are generally known to produce greater yields, but they necessitate farmers to keep going to seed companies every year to buy fresh seeds, because the seeds which are there, they are not breeder seeds. They have to buy breeder seeds every time. So this is the catch here when genetically modified crops are introduced. Presently, it's only GM cotton which has been introduced. It's the only transgenic crop commercially available. So GM mustard so cotton is also not a consumable as such. So this GM mustard would become the one food crop as such which would be given approval, but it has not been given approval as such till date. Next is disaster management. So this is regarding NDRF, National Disaster Response Force, which is training people across the country in 1 month on the do's and don'ts during disasters, be they man-made or natural. Then next in defense, the first news is new missile shoots down target aircraft. So this is regarding MRSAM, medium range surface to air missile. So this has been developed by India and Israel. It has been successfully test fired now twice. So this is a deal between DRDO and Israel Aerospace Industries, but it is said to be not having any technology transfer. So this is actually done with DRDO being the buyer and Israel Aerospace as such being the supplier. So it says no technology transfer as part of the contract. So this is medium range surface to air missile. This has been developed for the Indian Air Force. So its range is 70 km. Even a long range surface to air missile is being developed. So this will be used by the Indian Navy. So this is there. Contract for MRSAM was signed in 2009 and now 2016 we have test flights taking place. Tests taking place as such. Then next is indigenous Tejas joins IAF's flight squadron. So this fighter squadron. So this is the light combat aircraft Tejas. It has been designed and built in India. It has joined the Air Force squadron called Flying Daggers. So it has a 33-year history. It has cost nearly 8,000 crore to build Tejas. So currently the IAF fighters, Indian Air Force fighters are French origin, Mirage 2000 and Russian origin Sukhois and MiG-29s. So MiG-29s will be replaced. Actually, light combat aircraft Tejas was conceived as a project in 1985 and its purpose was to replace MiG-21 series. So it has of course overshooted the budget which was provided for it and also the time frame within which it should have been ready. So that is regarding Tejas. It has been developed for the Indian Air Force and the Navy. So the body which has developed it is Aeronautical Development Agency. And the public sector manufacturer of Tejas is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. The next is INS Virat sales for the last time. So this we have already discussed in July that INS Vikramaditya is the only aircraft carrier. So Virat and Vikrant had earlier been decommissioned and now INS Virat, the aircraft carrier ship of Indian Navy, has been decommissioned. In security, the first news item is NSCN has not given up on sovereignty, says Mueva. So this is the General Secretary of NSCN-IM, considered a separatist organization, but it has signed a framework agreement with the government last year. So it's an insurgent group. So they are saying that they have not given up their demand for sovereignty. Sovereignty actually means independence. So what is being spoken of now is shared sovereignty, that both come together and exist together. So that is a clarification given. So this is only a framework agreement signed. The entire deal is still being negotiated. The details as such are still being negotiated. So the demand of NSCN-IM is basically to have greater Nagaland. So this comprises of Naga inhabited regions, not just in Nagaland, but also in other northeastern states like Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur and Myanmar. Then the next news item is Kerala's 17 missing flew to Iran before going off radar. So this is regarding those who are suspected to have joined Islamic State. So this is regarding that many from Kerala had been named in this. At least you should know that. Then next regarding explosive materials in IS suspect's house. So this NIA, National Investigation Agency, arrested 25 men across the country for suspected IS links. So this is there. Then next is despite pings, no breakthrough yet, says Parikar. So this is regarding AN-32 which went missing and its search operation has been undertaken in Bay of Bengal, but there is no breakthrough as such. So this was an aircraft with 29 personnel. So in September 2016, what happened was the search and rescue mission was called off and all 29 people who were on board were presumed dead and their family is notified. So this was the Indian military aircraft which disappeared mysteriously. Then next is panel to be formed on use of alternatives to pellet guns. So Home Minister Rajnath Singh has said that expert committee would be formed because pellet guns is resulting in injury, loss of eyes in Jammu and Kashmir for the protesters. So now the alternatives to it would be alternative non-lethal methods of crowd control would be recommended by this body. Then red corridor to be redrawn by government. So this is the BJP government saying that the number of Maoist affected districts have reduced. So now redrawing as such would take place. So for it says this exercise underway now for 2 years is being done for the first time since 2006 when Maoist affected districts were identified and graded on the basis of their violence profile. So this will now be changed. So there's a fear that once a district is taken off the list of financial aid, of the list as such, financial aid which is made available to districts where Maoist infliction is there, that would stop. So that is one fear which states have. This left-wing extremism regions are called red corridors. Then next is bilateral relations now. So in India, China, Chinese troops are active on Uttarakhand border. So this is People's Liberation Army. So that is the name for Chinese army. So the troops from PLA are there, it seems, have entered into the Uttarakhand region here. And the Indian officials have told them to go back as this area belongs to India. So this has been communicated to them. So there is a discrepancy here that the unofficial demarcation line between India and China, which is there, because this McMahon line is not recognized by China. So that is the reason why these issues also occur, in which transgression of the area takes place from People's Liberation Army side, because McMahon line is upheld by India but not by China. So this is regarding that. Next is India ramps up its military presence in eastern Ladakh. So this is after the 1962 India-China war. The policy which India adopted was neglecting infrastructure in the border regions, because that would give a free hand to China also to enter into the country. So if there is no infrastructure, China entering in will also be difficult, because in 1962 we faced a humiliating defeat. It was a short war in which China even entered into the country and then they unilaterally retreated. So that was a huge setback for the country. So that is why this policy was adopted. But now this policy is being changed and border regions are being developed, because if we look at China's side, infrastructure development there has been drastic, while on Indian side it is lagging behind. So now we are trying to catch up. So this is discussed here. So LAC, line of actual control, is between India and China in Jammu and Kashmir region, because there was this region, Aksai Chin region, which China occupied in the 1962. So that is called as LAC. So it says that increased patrols both on land and in water have resulted in increased standoffs with the Chinese army. So this has been taking place for some time now. So India and China are having this dispute. They have fought a war too, and they have now agreed to resolve their border disputes. Talks are going on since 2005, and also an agreement as such was signed, and several rounds of talks, but behind closed doors, are taking place for resolving the boundary conflict between India and China. Next is 3rd Regiment of T-72 tanks to be moved to Ladakh soon. So now India is planning to move these T-72 tanks. These are Russian tanks. They will be moved to Ladakh. So this actually 3rd Regiment would be moved. So this step has been taken by India, because during India-China war we did not have battle tanks here. So now we are bringing battle tanks up here, but then it is at height, Ladakh. So it is freezing up here. So because of that, repeated switching on during the nights and in winter is required for these T-72 battle tanks. So that is the one hindrance which is there. So there are special additives and lubricants also which have been procured, so that the fuel remains in the desirable state as a lubricant. Then next is India-Africa relations. Terror is gravest threat to world, Modi. So India-Mozambique relations, it was 4-nation African visit which Prime Minister Narendra Modi had taken up during this time. So in Mozambique, he spoke of strengthening security and defense ties. These African nations, a long-term agreement under which India will buy pulses from Africa, which we just discussed too, has been put forth. So this because of the deficit in pulses. So this is with Mozambique. So strategic, and one aspect you can remember is on pulses. So this you can see the African nations here. Mozambique lies here. Then next is South Africa. So with South Africa, agreements have been done to deepen engagement in defense production, manufacturing, minerals and mining. So this and even combating terrorism. So this is the news. So also South Africa has said that it supports India's bid to NSG, nuclear suppliers group. Then third country is Tanzania. So Tanzania is also resource rich. Here also terrorism, climate change and defense and security were the highlights. So also a line of credit has been extended to the country Tanzania to improve the Zanzibar water supply system. So this has also been done by India. And the last one, Kenya. So in Kenya also line of credit has been extended. So this will be there. Plus India is providing a cancer hospital in Kenya to provide quality affordable healthcare there. So this is with Kenya. The next is 300 Indians stranded in Juba as civil war reignites but refuse to leave. So there are at least 300 Indians who are stranded here. So Juba is the capital of South Sudan, the latest formed country which is admitted to UN. So this conflict is by heavily armed rival factions who are divided on ethnic lines in the African new state of South Sudan. So that has resulted in many Indians also caught in the crossfires. So they had decided to go back to India. So actually this was an operation initiated. This is called Operation Sankat Mochan. So this was led by Mr. V.K. Singh, who is there in the External Affairs. He is the Minister of State for External Affairs. So this was done, but then a ceasefire has been brought in between the two warring factions in South Sudan. So this, because of the ceasefire, many Indians changed their mind at the last moment and decided not to leave South Sudan. So this resulted in a cost being incurred by the country without any consequences. But then Operation Rahat, which was also undertaken on similar lines in July 2015, exactly a year ago, before July 2016 right now, in this the news when this is. So in this, many citizens of India were rescued from Yemen. Even other countries' nationals were rescued as such. So this was Operation Rahat of 2015, and presently it was Operation Sankat Mochan of 2016 in South Sudan. But many did not come back. So the flights majorly many flew half empty and so on. The next is India-Afghanistan. Afghan army chief coming to India with revised wish list. So Afghanistan is demanding defense equipments from us. So they're demanding more Mi-25 attack helicopters, even Mi-35 helicopters are demanded. Also, Narendra Modi government has decided to supply 4 attack Mi-25 helicopters in December 2015. So this decision was already taken. Now more are being demanded by Afghanistan. Then in international relations, first one, tribunal rejects Beijing's claim on South China Sea. So this is the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which is headquartered in The Hague, Netherlands. So Philippines had approached it under the UN clause, UN Convention on Law of the Sea. So this arbitration was initiated in 2013 and now the ruling has come and the Permanent Court of Arbitration has ruled against China. And it says that China has no legal basis for its claims in the South China Sea. It says that rather it has aggravated the situation by constructing extensively these artificial islands. So these artificial islands are destroying the coral reefs and also infringing on the exclusive economic zone of Philippines. So this is the order which has come forth. So this was under the UN Convention on Law of the Sea, the 1982 treaty. So it says that supersedes China's 9-dash line. So China says that this is the 9-dash line on the basis of which it is claiming all these regions and also developing artificial islands. So it is, China, according to 9-dash line, it says we have access to around 85% of South China Sea. But then this has been rejected by the court. The court said that China is damaging the parts of the ecosystem also. So overfishing and development of artificial islands are resulting in this region being affected. So this is the Spratly Islands here. So Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands, you can see the claims China is making to South China Sea, the territorial claims of other countries as per the UN clause, that is 200 nautical miles as such in general. And the disputed islands, you can see Spratly, Paracel and Scarborough Islands are the disputed regions. The next is China warns of an air defense in South China Sea. So with the ruling, China is now deepening its presence. It has threatening that it can establish a military air defense identification zone. That's called ADIZ, Air Defense Identification Zone in South China Sea. It may take such a step. So if this is done, it means that overflying planes also have to notify China before doing that. So that is the meaning of this air defense identification zone. So China is threatening that, mulling means thinking that it will take up this step. So it says then after the ruling, China has also flown long-range bombers over these disputed Spratly Islands. They have commissioned 2 naval supply ships also here. Scarborough Islands is in shoal. This is dispute between China and Philippines. So China took control of Scarborough Shoal in 2012. So there was a long standoff, and finally it was taken over by China in 2012. So that is there. So Philippines, of course, taken over from Philippines. So Philippines, the capital Manila, they have come with a defense treaty with USA. So both are now making preparation to take over Spratly Island. So this is the disputed islands. You can see preparations have been made to deploy floating nuclear reactors, which can be used for desalination to deliver ample quantities of fresh water as well as generate electricity for personnel deployed in the disputed Spratly Islands. So this is the development taking place. So nuclear reactors, floating nuclear reactors will provide the energy. So this is there. Then next is Beijing, Moscow to hold joint drills in South China Sea. So this is the joint naval exercises which will take place. So with respect to US deploying in South Korea the THAAD missiles, this was opposed by China and Russia both. So this has been reiterated here to see. This is THAAD, is terminal high altitude air defense missile. So this is there. Then next is Dhaka blames educated homegrown terrorists. So Islamic State group claims responsibility for the attacks, but Bangladesh says that the attack had taken place targeting a gathering of citizens of the world as such. So this Western style cafe, Holy Artisan Bakery, was bombed. So this is regarding that. So you can see. Next is Armenia to have world's largest Yazidi temple. So this Yazidi temple is being built in Armenia, which is in Europe. So Yazidis call themselves the people of 72 genocides. So they are the largest minority community in Armenia too. Means they have suffered from various genocides, efforts to wipe out their population. This is there. Yazidis, they are ethnically Kurdish population. They are strictly endogamous, means they will not marry outside their community. So this is there. It has some features of Zoroastrianism, Islam, Christianity, as well as Judaism. So it believes in Malektos. So this is the peacock angel. So they say that peacock angel Malektos actually temporarily fell from God's favor, and this has been reconciled, and he was reconciled with God later too. So this, there is a link with the story of temporary fall of the angel, the Malektos. This is similar to the Iblis story of Iblis or Shaitan, which is there in Islam as well as in Christianity. So this God had asked the angels to prostrate before Adam. So this was not done by Iblis, and that is why he was banished from heaven. So that is the story. So this Malektos is actually worshipped by the Yazidis. So they have been persecuted on this, calling them as devil worshippers, because this Iblis is Shaitan. He was an angel, but then he became Shaitan. So Yazidis believe he still remains the angel. So that is why they have been persecuted and called devil worshippers. The next news item is 84 killed in France as terror truck lost through crowd. So this is on Bastille Day that Paris terror attack took place. Lastly, IS retains ability to strike amid losses. So Fallujah has been declared completely liberated from Islamic State, but then still they have the power to strike. So IS still controls Mosul. Mosul fight is still going on as of April 2017. So many regions have been acquired, but still complete control over Mosul has not taken place. So this is regarding Mosul and Fallujah, which are under, Fallujah has been freed, but Mosul is still under the Islamic State. So this is Fallujah, you can see, Mosul, both in Iraq. So there is another there. In 1 month, Baghdad's highly fortified green zone, which houses government buildings and diplomatic missions, was stormed twice by anti-government protesters. So protests are also taking place in Iraq. We know the condition of the country. Next is Putin signs controversial Big Brother law. So this is a law which has controversial anti-terror amendments. They're called Big Brother measures. So it is increasing the surveillance powers of the security services. So the communication providers have to store users' calls, storage, messages, photographs, videos for 6 months. Also, the metadata has to be stored for up to 3 years. Metadata means data about data. So this is the new law coming forth in Russia to tackle terrorism and increase surveillance powers. Then finally on personalities, one is on Irom Sharmila. So Irom Chano Sharmila has decided to end her fast. She ended her fast in August 2016 and contested Manipur assembly elections, but she could not win seats. She lost drastically. So this was there. She was on fast demanding repeal of AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act. She was on fast for 16 years. She was force-fed and forced through pipes. But finally, now she has decided she would end her fast. She said she'll join politics to fight for her cause now, because this seems to be futile. But then she formed the political party to People's Resurgence and Justice Alliance. But then in March 2017, when elections took place in Manipur, she won only 90 votes. So that is there. Then of Philippine President Ramon Magsaysay, and this award was established in his memory in 1957. So it's prize given to Asian individuals as such. So it was earlier given in 6 categories, but 5 were discontinued since 2009. So now only 1 category is there, Emergent Leadership category, and all other prizes are uncategorized, just Ramon Magsaysay award as such given. Then next is Mahashweta Devi passes away. So this is Magsaysay award winner, social activist Mahashweta Devi. She has played a significant role in upliftment of the extremely backward community Kheria suburb. So she was influenced by the communist movement of the 1940s and worked for the upliftment of these communities. So she is known to be the founder of Budhan Theatre too. So this theatre was founded in 1998, and it was comprising of members of this Chara tribe. So this is one of India's groups of denotified or criminal tribes in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. So here Srimati Mahashweta Devi played a key role in revival of this, in enacting of this drama. So this became a separate theatre form as such. It's called Budhan Theatre. So it takes its name from this Budhan Sabar. He was a tribal man who was labeled a criminal, targeted and murdered by the police in West Bengal. So this story is being done in this Budhan Theatre. That is the name. So that is it. Thank you.